Constable Richards is with the Edmonton Police Service School Resource Unit. He was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but has lived in Edmonton for the majority of his life and has been with the EPS for about 20 years now, I believe. He's married with 2 children, 18 and 5 years. His parents are from a mixed background. His mother is Jamaican and his father is Aboriginal and French. He has been a police officer in the city of Edmonton for the past 19 years, and within that time he has spent time in patrol services, undercover drug operations, White Avenue Beat Patrol, and is now part of the school resource unit. He has been trained in aspects of cybercrime, and with the continuing growth of internet use, it's really important and timely for his topic today. So join me in welcoming Mike. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Like was said, been a police officer for a long time. And as of recent, in the last 3 years, I've been with the school resource unit. With that unit, I've been involved with lots of different crime. However, primarily, I've been dealing with cybercrime. And the cybercrime within a high school level involves cyberbullying. With that, I've had an opportunity to speak with lots of kids ranging from 15 to 18, involving the internet and the computer. Also, when I say computer, I'll throw in cell phones, which include the PDA, which is like the BlackBerry. Anyway, I'll get started into my PowerPoint here. I won't refer to it as gospel. I'll try to keep up with the keep the PowerPoint up with how I'm talking, and we'll just go from there. I welcome questions, so if you have any questions, feel free to email them in, and I'll try to address them as we go through. And the learning objectives, they're in front of you, so you can read them on your own time. We'll just browse through this. This picture here is something that I selected because I am 42 years old. When I started school, we had a blackboard, chalk, pencils, and paper, basically. Now kids are at this age. I have a 5-year-old, and my 5-year-old is learning primarily on a computer. Everything she does is computer-oriented, whether that's math, English, social. Everything comes from the computer, which means that your child is 10 times more versed with the computer than you or even I. And it's funny because as a police officer, I should be known as the resident expert at the school as far as the computer, but I'm probably about 100th on the depth chart with knowledge. The kids today learn this stuff so fast, and it's virtually hard to keep up. On a crime-based level, I took a pornography undercover course, which allows me to go online to seek out online predators. However, what happens at a school-based level is that it's hard to detect because even with a parent who has the savvy enough to be involved with a social site like Facebook, kids are smart enough to have a couple of Facebook sites under their profile. So it's hard to detect criminal activity, and under that would be like the cyberbullying and it's big in the news right now, it's called sexting. And virtually sexting is where you distribute child pornography. Because if you are under the age of 18 and you are sending out pictures of yourself in the nude to somebody who is, again, under 18, it's a criminal offense. Okay? But most teens don't understand that, and they're unaware of that criminal code crime. Anyway, to say all these things, that's basically why I chose this picture. It was kind of amusing to me. I put some stats in, and the stats basically are derived from a 2000 consensus, and these stats basically are just thrown in there just to kind of, it's kind of like the wake-up call where you kind of get to see where what kids are doing. And so to go over that, 81% of parents say teens are not careful enough when providing info about themselves online, and 79% of your children agree with that statement. Okay, so that means that when your children are online, it's kind of like when you're texting, or what I do primarily is the BlackBerry Messenger, and that's kind of a direct texting, so there is no delay, where kids are way more bolder than if they were dealing with somebody face to face. So, which means that they're going to say things that they normally wouldn't say. They would, in a school level, they would utter threats. They would call people out. They would call people down. And so that is a huge, huge stat. Next thing is that they say 65% of all parents and 64% of all teens say that teens do things online that they wouldn't normally do. Okay, so that again, that is because of the kids don't have to be face to face anymore, right? Again, at my high school, there's probably 95% of the students who have a cell phone, and they carry those cell phones at all times. And whether they're in class or in the hall or on lunch, they're using these cell phones primarily for texting. Okay, so the call aspect of a cell phone basically is obsolete now because kids are texting and BlackBerry messaging. Next stat is 34% of all youth say that they had unwanted exposure to sexual material in the past year, compared to 25% in 2000. Okay, that just means that based on profile. Okay, so a lot of the kids have profiles that are a little, I call Hollywood, which could be Brandy Sex 16 or Charlie Wants to Do Ya kind of thing, where it lets people who are looking for that kind of hook to solicit. And so when I did my online pornography course, you could well imagine what my hook was to get these primarily males into chatting with me. And so these are things that kids are doing that they think are cool or kind of witty, but in actuality, it's these things that are bringing in these unwanted sexual solicitation by unknown predators, we'll call. I'll just read a couple more stats. 56% of youth who received sexual solicitation did not tell anyone. Okay, so they're not telling parents, they're not telling teachers, they're not telling friends. Okay, a lot of this stuff goes unreported. As you can see here, social networking primarily involves social sites. Okay, and these social sites are, the big one is Facebook. Probably 95% of the demographic between 15 and 100 use Facebook. And then another big one is MSN, which is a chat. Primarily kids use that as chatting. So they'll have a direct link to another friend where they chat back and forth. And people can come into the chat if they invite them in. But this is something that they use quite a bit. Yahoo, Google, Nexopia. Nexopia is a site that was derived from, in Edmonton here, by a university student. and this Nexopia was primarily for a studying purpose. However, it has evolved into a huge social site with kids who are ranging from 15 to 18 years of age. Okay, so in this social site, I'm gonna pick Facebook. Okay, so you see the pictures here. Kids are posting their picture. They are posting their first and last name, an age. Okay, but however, when it comes to somebody who is trying to seek out these kids, the online predators, they're taking all this information. Okay, from their friends list, from some of the locations that they post on their site. A predator can decide or find out where they live, what school they go to, who their friends are, okay, because everybody posts their friends list. And at an age group, a high school age group, friends lists are huge. And my understanding is there's somebody has a question about friends lists, and I'll get to that. So these are the social sites that kids are going on. Going down to friends lists, okay, as a parent or guardian, legal guardian, the friends list that your children post are very important, okay, because it allows you to see who they're hanging around with. It allows you to see the chatting that goes on between friends and the nature or content of what's being said. Okay, so you can find out if your kid is involved with drugs, is involved with criminal activity, is an A+ student. You'll find all those from your friends list. Okay, so don't be misled though with the friends list, because kids, especially at a school level, like to show their popularity by adding kids to their friends list, regardless of whether they're friends or not. Okay, so they could have 100 to 200 friends on their friends list, and for the most part, 6 or 7 of them are actually their friends. Okay, another thing that happens is that it's kind of the friend of a friend, which means that when you bring in somebody on your friends list, you could bring in their friends and their friends and their friends, okay? So which allows you to build your friends list, which, in the long and short of it, when you are, again, at the school level and kids are looking at your profile, they get to see your network of friends, okay? So that's the big key with the online friends list, okay? As a parent or guardian, if you're going through this list, and for me, I would go through the list with I have an 18-year-old daughter, go through that list with her, and I would actually find out who is her actual friend and who is not, and question her about it, right? And if some of these people who she doesn't really know are on her friends list, I get her to delete that. With my online course, I got to see who actually was in her Facebook without her even knowing it. And how that happened was that she didn't have her profile locked down, which allowed me to go into her profile and just snoop around. Of course, I was very respectful when I did that, and I let her know that I did that. Of course, so sitting down with her, we locked her profile. So now, no unwanted persons can go into her profile or have a look at her profile. And of course, the alarming thing was that looking at her profile, I got to see me, and I got to see my 5-year-old, and so it was kind of alarming for me, because I'm in the business of policing, where I'm not in the book, I'm not in the yellow pages, and I don't have a Facebook profile for a lot of these reasons. Okay, so those things are essential. Okay, and I'm going to say it's key for parents to understand that the kids on the friends list, for the most part, are not her friends, okay, or their friend. The sign-in control. So we'll go to the next slide here, because Okay, this is just this is just the online friends. We talked about it. You can see some of the, everybody posts a picture for whatever reason. Everybody likes to see their picture on Facebook, right? It's the, I don't know what it is, but that's what happens with these little cutesy little hooks for names that guys and girls like to give each other. It's hilarious, and that's part of the amusing part of my job is I get to see some of these funny Facebook profiles. Here's the sign-in control. This to me is a huge function for parents, because what happens is, for me, when my daughter was younger, not so much anymore, but when she was younger, I actually signed in. I had the username and the password. Okay, and so we shared this. I also monitored what type of information that she provided. Okay, now we don't like to advocate lying. However, a lot of the things on her profile, I wouldn't allow her to post. Age, where she lived, where she went to school, what she liked to do, right? Because again, as a predator, you're looking for those types of things. Okay. Now, you know, we live in Edmonton, and Edmonton, West Edmonton Mall is the huge thing. Well, she says that she doesn't provide any other information other than the fact that I like to shop and hang with my friends at West Edmonton Mall. Okay, if an online predator sees her picture and likes what he sees, where do you think he's going to go? He's going to go to West Edmonton Mall. He's going to try to seek her out. Now, at any given time, there's 30,000 to 60,000 people at West Edmonton Mall. In the off chance that he locates her, he's going to make or initiate contact with her. These are the things that I do not want as a parent. Okay? So this is the thing that I became in charge of. Whether it was Facebook, whether it was MSN, whether it was Google or Nexo, at my home and MSN. Okay? So I had the sign-in control. It allowed me to open and see what she was doing. Her chats on MSN came to my laptop. Okay, so we had a home-based computer. I had a laptop. Came to my laptop. So I got to browse what was being said. Okay, by having control of the sign-in aspect of whatever site she wanted to be on. Okay, and so that is key. If you do nothing else, and if you remember nothing else about what I'm saying, because, you know, for the most part, I'll babble a lot, but whatever. If you remember nothing else, this is what you need to remember. Okay, because there again, the type of information that is posted is key, okay, to your daughter or your son's safety is key here. Okay. Okay, chat rooms. Okay, chat rooms are very basic. Okay, and basic in the respect that you got to go through the social site, and most, again, primarily my daughter used the MSN chat. However, it's these chat rooms that allowed me, as an undercover operator for child pornography, to seek out online predators. And how I did this was, on the sign-in, I was a 14-year-old boy. I went to the internet. I grabbed a picture of a nice-looking 14-year-old boy, pasted it on my site as I was this kid. I posted everything, where I went to school, what I like to do, I posted kind of my devices, which were, I like to go out, however, I don't have very many friends, and this is the thing that allowed me to hook in predators. Within, I think it was 4 minutes on my chat room site, I had invitations to go to different chats. Now, it varies very much for guys and girls. For girls, you get the online predator right away. Boom, he wants to talk with you. You go in, he wants to show you the world, meaning he wants to, on his webcam, he wants to show himself naked. He wants to talk with you directly via phone. He wants to meet with you. He wants to do all these things. For boys, it's slightly different. For boys, it is you got a nice-looking woman that has posted a picture shot of herself. Whether that's her or not is irrelevant. However, it's a provocative picture of a female in a bathing suit, which draws a 14-year-old boy in, or an 18-year-old boy, or a 42-year-old man, whatever. Anyway, draws them in, and then they have a choice to make. Okay, so it's not a direct chat. It is, do you want to chat? Yes. Okay, and then as soon as that happens, it pops up is credit card information. Okay, and so, as a kid, when I was a kid, you had no access to a credit card. Now you can get those prepaid credit cards, okay, which a lot of kids have. You can have the prepaid credit card, and you can use that to enter into the credit card list, which automatically means that these people have your credit card information. They have information that they are privy to, financial information, and these are the things that they go after. Now, what's gone on in the past is that 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old boy does these sorts of things, and turns out that they have stolen his identity. They have created a new identity, and where they are opening up loans, opening up bank accounts, doing all these sorts of things, getting credit, and then virtually wiping this name out as far as financially. So that's kind of the difference with boys and girls. Again, when I did my course, 4 minutes, I had a man from a different country, okay, because this is the internet, right? Internet means it's worldwide. Within 4 minutes, I had a man who was wanting to open up his webcam, and so I invited him. And within 4 minutes, he was masturbating in front of me, in front of 36 people who are in my course, police headquarters, Edmonton, masturbating within a boardroom similar to the one I'm in front of everybody. And it took about 4 minutes. 36 other people, virtually the same thing. Okay? And with the wrong information, it is quite easy to bring people in. Okay? Now, as a teenage girl who doesn't have the experience or the maturity, they will post accurate information. So no longer are they bringing a picture from the internet of a similar aged person. They are posting themselves. And a lot of the times they post themselves in kind of provocative poses or wearing provocative clothing. And they post their real name, age, where they go to school, what city they live in. And unwanted persons will solicit their chat. And of course, if things are, if they're articulate, meaning if they are using the right words, saying the right things, a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl will fall prey to that. Okay? So it's essential that you monitor those chats. It's essential that you have control over the sign-in. Okay? Here's a trick that I found out through the course of my school year is that parents had control over the Facebook site. However, when you went into it, there was minimal activity. Okay? And so the parents were kind of confused because their son is always on the computer. Okay? So what was happening is that at school, the son created a new profile. Okay? And so he wasn't using the profile that the parents put out for him. He was using the one he created at school. Okay? And so all his activity, all his friends lists were on his school Facebook. Okay? And so it took a little bit to figure out what was actually happening. Okay? However, once we we were able to go in through the school site and figure out what he was doing. Okay, so that is something that you need to keep in mind, okay, as a parent or a guardian, is that if there's minimal to zero activity, there's more than likely another site that they're using. Okay, so that's kind of the chat room deal. You can go online right now, and you can Google chat lingo or lingo, and it'll bring you up all the lingo that the kids are using online. Okay, and that'll help you. A couple of my investigations were just that. It was a 15-year-old girl who parents had some sense of control over her site, however, didn't monitor it very well. So the school phoned and said that she had missed a day of classes. Mom decides that I'm going to go into her Facebook site to see what's happening. Once she did that, she found out that the daughter missed the day of school to go to this boy's house. Okay, so it was later learned that this daughter, the girl ended up having sex with this boy who was 1 year older, so he was 16, ends up having sex with this boy. All of this was documented on her Facebook, and so the parents, of course, wanted me to do something about it because the boy was slightly older and she had to contrive a story that was believable for her parents. And the story was he raped her. He brought her to his home and she ended up having sex with him against her will. However, what happened was that all this documentation on her Facebook allowed me to see that it was very much consensual. Okay, and how I figured that out was basically the conversation between the two, and what she was saying, and how she was adding or contributing to what happened when they missed that day of school. So that particular event went right up to the chain of command, which meant that my leadership had to evaluate that whole case because it's kind of like what's on the news today. The 15-year-old hockey player was abused by the hockey coach, right? And so those sorts of things you have to really research and really go through all the material, and it's a collaborated effort as to whether this actually happened or not. Okay, so this particular event went up the chain of command, and of course, for me to say to parents, okay, here's what I believe. I believe that your daughter is saying these things because she was caught in a lie. Okay, and that in the event that there was a sexual relationship, that it was consensual. Okay, well, you could see as a 15-year-old, as a parent of a 15-year-old, how you would receive that information. Okay, of course, you'd want to believe your child, and you'd want to try to sway that decision into the favor of the 15-year-old. Okay, but the parents couldn't deny what was happening on the Facebook, and that was a huge contributor to my investigation. Okay, so that's kind of like the chat rooms. This here it just shows the style of chat that goes on. Okay, so you can use the avatars, and avatars are cartoons or animated pictures that are kind of look similar to the person who is on the chat. So you can see these kind of cartoon or the avatars popping up, and those are when you're typing in a message to the other person, your avatar will come up and then the message. Okay, so you can definitely see the link of communication. Okay, of course, with the chat lingo, it kind of makes it hard to understand what is being said, and that's why if you have this the lingo, then you can kind of fill in what the actual word means. That's another obstacle in a police investigation is the lingo and trying to figure out what it actually means. Okay? So again, with the sign-in control, you can limit and monitor what and how your kid chats. Okay? What I didn't mention is that you can also limit what chat room your child goes into. Okay? So there are a lot of chat rooms out there that are adult-oriented. Okay? And all it asks is that, are you 18? And of course, in your profile, if you have in there that you're 16, you can go back into your profile, alter that age, and then go back into the chat. It's that easy. Okay, and that's the only policing that's on these chat sites, is that especially for the adult ones, it asks that you're 18. So as a parent, there again, you can ensure that your child goes into sites that are more child-friendly. Disney has a chat site that's child-friendly. And there's lots of sites like that that have good policing rules. Okay, and the next slide here will show some of the chat room rules. Okay, now just so you know that these rules are based on truth. Okay, so which means that if you open up a site where you are untruthful, then I guess these rules don't really apply, right? And so you got to be cognizant of that. Again, here in the chat rooms, nicknames, watch what you say. The watch what you say thing is that this primarily is for people who make threats of violence. Okay, and in a lot of these chat rooms, Facebook, Nexopia, Google, they have a reporting button where you can report unwanted solicitations, you can report language, you can report lots of these types of things. However, some of these sites don't police them appropriately. Facebook does, Google does, Nexopia does. Nexopia, because it's local, they have a good reporting system where once that information is reported, certain things can happen. Your profile could be suspended, which means that you no longer have activity through that chat site. They will send that information depending on the nature. So say it's of a sexual nature, where you're saying that you had sex with a 3-year-old. That type of information will be sent to the region ICE unit, which is integrated unit with the RCMP and the metropolitan area. So it could be Edmonton, Calgary, Medicine Hat. It goes to those regions, and then it is investigated by the police. Okay, so again, be aware that some of these sites don't police very well. Okay, and so again, if it's something that is important to you, then the sites that I had mentioned are the sites that you would want to have your child participate in. No personal information. Okay, so again, that's all based on truth, right? So the personal information, whether you are truthful or not, who is to know, right? So be careful with that. Be suspicious of online friends. Well, it's that's kind of depending on the age. So if you're, again, 15, 16, 17, given that this unknown friend says the right things, you might be more apt to bring them in on your friends list, right? And so as a parent, you got to be suspicious of that. And I guess to detect that sort of thing is that it's the nature of what's being said. And of course, in that nature, the communication for the most part isn't going to be what Sally and Debbie did at school the day before, right? It's going to be things that are a communication that is goes beyond the school. It's more involves a relationship. And okay, I use that because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a male predator seeking out female. Okay, and so be cognizant of that. Okay, and so uncomfortable situations, well, that all depends on the personality of the child, right? And so you'll have a mature 16-year-old who is willing to do more than unmature 18-year-old, right? So it all depends on your child, and you got to really know who your child is to be alarmed about that. So uncomfortable means that language, right? If things are presented to your child that are more of an adult base, and your child is engaging in that, that is a huge concern. Okay, and that's a red flag for me. That tells me that there's more that's being posted on her site than is what is being known to the parent or the guardian. Meeting online, this is another key indicator or flag. If your child doesn't know this person, okay, and so if they don't attend the school or a neighboring school or live in your community, then for the most part, your child doesn't really know them, okay? And if it's being pushed that this unknown friend wants to develop a bond or a friendship, and in that friendship, he wants or she wants to meet, okay, that's something that you need to report to the police, okay? Reporting that stuff is key, and you might think it's trivial. However, this person could be doing it to thousands of people, okay? It's not just an isolated incident, and you got to be aware of that. Potentially, the big picture is that this online predator is seeking out girls right across the world, okay? And some child pornography investigations, it'll start here in Edmonton, and it'll bring in suspects right across North America, right across Europe. A lot of, and then so what happens is that once these suspects are identified, then the region in which the crime is being investigated, they will send the police out to these people's houses, whether they live in England or Russia or Australia. They'll send the police to their home and have them arrested, okay? Because most countries have a child pornography law, okay? So you'll hear on the news that, a guy was arrested in Australia or England from an Edmonton child pornography case, and he's put in jail, okay? And so these are the things that you need to be aware of, is that, again, the internet is global, okay? So moving on, they say to be honest about age. For me, you have to put in there something sometimes. So it's better to be older than younger, because predators don't like older people. Why? Because older people are mature. Older people understand what's going on when an unwanted solicitation is occurring. So that's why they don't really seek out somebody who is 18, 19, 20, okay? And so if you're going to put an age, it's better to be older than younger. Okay, the instant messaging is, like I said, it's on the MSN where you can instant message somebody. You see the cartoon avatar of the person, and there is a direct line of communication. I have it's a BlackBerry PDA. I'm not sure if you can all see this clearly. Okay, so a lot of the instant messaging occurs on these types of phones, okay? So this is a phone. I can do email. I can take in email. I can email people. I can BlackBerry Messenger, which is instant messaging, right from this phone here. A lot of kids have this phone, okay? So in that, the way that a parent has to monitor their child's activity needs to change, right? So no longer is it that you are, in control of the sign-in, okay? you need to be in control of the phone, okay? And because 9 times out of 10 that phone is in the guardian or parent's name, it allows them to do lots of things. And again, the things that I need to do is I need to have control over the locking mechanism. So all the codes that potentially could be involved with a cell phone, you need to be in control of. So that prior to you giving the phone to the child, you need to set the password, you need to set the codes. Okay? And then your child will be unable to lock that phone, okay, or change the passwords or codes. Okay? So it's essential that that is done prior to giving that phone. Here, some of the rules are, it says, talk to people you know personally. Okay, these are just common sense things. No unknowns. However, some of the clouds for kids are that it could be a friend of a cousin of yours, or something, a dynamic such as that, so which will convolute the unknowns. So, it's like a parent who teaches their young child, their 5-year-old, don't talk to strangers. Well, that means they're not to talk to anybody other than you, really, right? Because whether they're friends of mine or a family, the 5-year-old or the child really doesn't know who they are, right? So they wouldn't be allowed to talk to anything, really. So it's the common sense factor that needs to kick in. And sometimes the parent has to help the child with the common sense, okay? And set out these types of parameters, okay? And the parameters are that if somebody's engaging you online and you don't really know them, they say that they know you, then Brent, come to me or come to the guardian or parent and discuss it. Because the parent might know the family, or the parent might know the person, and he will they'll give direction as to whether or not you're to chat with them. And again, for me, if it's someone that I believe my child shouldn't be talking to, whether it's a family friend or not, then I'll instruct her not to talk to them. Okay? Don't respond to messages from an unknown author. That kind of falls in line with the unknown person. Okay? And it's just a matter of wording. And basically, you'll get these little pop-up messages. Hey, I like how you look. Do you want to be friends? Okay, so now if you're the lonely 16-year-old girl who doesn't have too many boys saying, hey, I like how you look, they're more than able or apt to research who that unknown author is by sending a message back. Okay, so it's that type of thing. You got to know who your child is, and you got to know their devices and be honest about those things. And it's the honesty between the child and the parent that's actually going to save a lot of these heartaches or headaches online. Personal information, it's a reoccurring theme with all the social sites, right? Be careful what you post, okay? Avoid completing those public profiles. The public profiles are that, especially on Facebook, you'll see on Facebook it'll say, rate this person, right? But the person had to put in all their picture, their age, their size, their weight, all these things, right, to be rated. Okay, so there's lots of these little pop-up things that come up for people to continue or to engage the longevity on the certain site. Okay, on the bottom here it says MSN and Yahoo Messenger. Those are the big chat sites. Okay, so those are the ones that are popular. Those are the ones that are policed fairly well. There again, though, don't be misled by the popularity of these two sites, because, again, in the course that I took, we used all these sites to seek out online predators. And everybody within my course, which was 36 people, had somebody do something. Okay? So don't be misled by the popularity of the site. We're going to flip over to Webcam. Okay? And the webcams are, if you have a webcam at home, okay, and a lot of the new like a laptop, will have a built-in webcam. If you have a webcam at home, you ensure that that webcam stays off a lot of the time, and that when it's on, you're there. Okay, that goes along with where you place your computer. Okay, that computer should be placed in a busy part of your home, and again, having the right webcam. Okay, and the one that's displayed here has a light on, when it's activated. Okay, what happens is that an online predator, once he establishes communication with your child, he will be able to take over that webcam through his computer and turn it on and off when he wants to. Okay, so you got to be aware of that, and so that's why you have to manually turn those webcams off. Okay, there's a thing called Skyping, and Skyping is basically the new phone system where you could talk with anybody in the world, and with the webcam they can see you talk to them. Okay, Skyping is used by soldiers who are in Afghanistan. They use the Skyping system. Okay, and so it has its place. However, used inappropriately, it could cause a lot of grief. And of course, that just comes under your internet profile. So if you have an IP site and you're getting internet services, you'll be allowed to Skype. Okay. Here's something that I found out that was kind of intriguing to me is that you can have an iPod, and it's primarily the bigger iPods without the phone networking system built into the phone. You can Skype via that iPod, so you can get a Skyping address, and you can talk and use the Skyping system right on that iPod system. Okay, so you could be going, okay, I want my child to have a nice iPod. I want her to be able to download as much music as possible and have a nice big screen to see videos and stuff. Don't be fooled. That can be turned into a phone. Okay, it's just that a lot of the kids are unaware of how Skyping works, so it's not prevalent at a school level right now. Okay, but it's out there. Here's the big thing for me is that if your computer is in your bed, is in a room, or your child has a computer, and primarily through the course of the day they spend a lot of time in that room, that is a flag. That tells me that something is happening that maybe you should go in and investigate and see what is exactly happening. Because what happens a lot of the times is that your child is engaging in something online that you are unaware of, and primarily it's of a sexual nature, whether they are taking their clothes off in front of the webcam or posting pictures of themselves. Another link is that they use the cell phone to take the picture, and they can send that through text or BlackBerry Messenger out to anybody they want. Okay, and now with the right data package, okay, so there is the phone plan, so that allows you minutes on your cell phone. Then there's a data plan, okay, and if your child has a data plan, in that data plan, it gives you the amount of text you can send and receive. It allows you to Google right on your cell phone. It allows you to access Facebook on your cell phone. Okay, so be familiar with that. So if your child is spending a large portion of their time in the bedroom, you need to research why. And it's probably a good idea to say that you should move that computer out from the bedroom and out into the mainstream of the home. Okay, there again, those are just common sense things. Okay, and this picture here is that it's depicting by the looks of it, a high school female who's done something online. And of course, when I look at this picture, I see the webcam and the computer being on, which kind of leads me to believe that she's either taking her clothes off in front of the webcam and posting it. Of course, here's the thing that everybody says, and that is that once you post something or once you send something, it is gone from your control. Okay, I tell a funny story of when I was a rookie in policing, and I was being a funny guy, and And me and my squad mates went out to this local night spot. And we ended up getting a ride back to the station by one of the females in our crew. We were all sitting in the back seat. In the back seat, there was a duffel bag, and inside the duffel bag was a camera, digital camera. So me, as the 23-year-old funny guy, decide that I'm going to take pictures of everybody, and so I ended up taking a picture of my private parts and closing the camera back up and leaving it. Okay, forgot all about it. My female squad mate tells me weeks later that she had the pictures developed. Okay, and the pictures were primarily of her sister's wedding. And so on one side was her dad, who was a staff sergeant in the RCMP, and on the other side was her mom. She was seated at the table below them, and they were going through these pictures. So then, of course, it was discovered what I had done. Wasn't so funny, right? What had happened was, for the next 6 years, so 6 years, that picture showed up at every squad party that I attended. Posted right at the door, bang, here it is. 6 years. Okay, so I didn't have control over that. Okay, so now let's bring this type of thing to the computer, to the online. That was not just sent to one person. So it wasn't the one person sitting at the table with mom and dad over the shoulder. This could be sent to thousands of people. And of course, in the child pornography industry, people send out pics, images, videos at an alarming rate. I did a search warrant on a local, he wasn't a teacher, he was a support staff, and his job within the school was that he taught kids how to cook and how to clean and do all these sorts of things within a kitchen. He had close to 1 million pics, videos, images of child pornography. One person. And of course, it's kind of like when you download music, and I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with how to download music, but on a music site, you search other people who have the music that you're looking for. And of course, it navigates to thousands of people who have this certain song. Child pornography is the same way. It'll navigate to people who have the certain genre of what you are interested in, whether that is preteen, teenage, boys, girls, whatever you're interested in, it'll search it out for you. Okay, so to bring my incident onto the internet, my picture, as nice as it is, could have went out to thousands and thousands of people. And guess what? I had zero control. Okay, so you could well imagine what my wife was thinking when we showed up to a squad party, and I knew what was going to happen. I would prepare her. Just so you know, this is what I did. Wasn't very funny. I know. But just to prepare yourself. And sure enough, walk in, boom, bang, 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 till the next one. 6 years. Okay, it showed up. Okay, so your child needs to be aware of that. And as a parent, you need to be aware of that. Okay? Does it show up anymore? No, I think I've subdued all the recreations of Mike Richards partially clad, but I think I've got that under control. Anyway, so the webcam is that anything you broadcast can never be taken back. Okay, we just discussed that. It's huge. It is, to me, the most important. Do I have a webcam at my house? Well, yeah. I just bought a new laptop, and it has a webcam in it. Have I used it? No. Do my children know it's there? My 18-year-old might, but it's never been on it. My 5-year-old has never been on it. Okay? Unplug the webcam. These are just common sense things. You need to unplug them, because if your child is engaging in a relationship with somebody they don't know, for the most part, that unknown person is looking to take over that webcam, meaning that he can turn it on or turn it off. Okay? So if the webcam is unplugged, then he has no longer control over that webcam. And that's essential. Okay? So don't be, it's not good enough to just turn it off. You need to unplug it. Okay? Don't use it when visiting chat rooms. Okay? For me, other than the fact that my sibling or family friend is in Afghanistan at the war, or in my case, I have family that live in Fredericton, New Brunswick, that would be the only reason why I would use the Skyping, which would present my picture as I am talking. That would be under the only conditions that I would use that. There again, I would never allow my child to use a webcam, to own a webcam. It's not necessary. Okay? And that is, what would be the reasonable excuse for your child to want a webcam? Okay, that would be something that you would have to evaluate, I guess. Don't download files and sharing software. Under the right condition, downloading things is fine. Okay, but when it comes to downloading or sharing information, pertinent information about self or family, I wouldn't be involved with that. Okay, here's part of the things that I learned as an undercover operator. When Buddy Boy was online doing his thing in front of me, yeah, of course, I visualized what he looked like, but then after that, I was looking around his surroundings, meaning that I was trying to determine where he lived, what country, based on the furniture, pictures, types of thing within his home. Okay? They do the same thing. It's counterintelligence. They do the same thing. They'll do the same thing to your child. They'll look in the background. A lot of kids like to take the picture in front of their home with the partial address showing or the entire address showing. Or across the street is an elementary school that they used to attend. Things like that. You got to be aware of those sorts of things, and that's why those things have to be strictly monitored. Okay. Don't record yourself in compromising fashion, which means that in provocative positions or clothing. Okay, and you'd be surprised how many girls like to post themselves wearing a bikini in the dead of winter, or something where they are showing cleavage or something of that nature. Whereas the boys, here's the difference. The boys like to show themselves in gangster wear or things of that nature. So that's the kind of the difference between the guys and the boys, guys and the girls. And that's why, for the most part, boys don't sustain this kind of unwanted solicitation based on the picture. Don't let anybody convince your child that it's safe, that they're friendly, that they know them, that their intentions are honorable. Everybody who is unknown to them is a predator, where I come from. Okay? And that is that if you don't know them, what would be their motive for talking to you? Okay? It's simple. And those are the questions that you need to ask your child. So what would be their motive for talking with you? And have them tell you why they would develop that sort of friendship. Okay? Blogging's pretty simple, and most people are familiar with blogging. Blogging is an area on your site that you can complain, that you can voice your opinion, that you could, for the most part, tell somebody else what you're thinking or feeling. With the blogging, it allows other people to add to that. Okay? In blogging, it's pretty generic, meaning you're not telling people what you like or in the respect that you're lonely and you want friends, or you're not telling people that. It's more a place to complain or rant about your teachers or your parents or that sort of thing, and people just add to the blogging. Okay, so to be concerned about blogging, there's a few cases that were investigated where the 14 or 15-year-old boy is complaining about being bullying. And it's within his blog where he kind of indicates where he was at with that emotionally, and it indicated what he was going to do as a result of being bullied. Okay, and so that allowed me to intervene and of course apply the appropriate measures to ensure that things don't elapse further. With the Columbine, everybody's familiar with Columbine. Here in this region, it's Tabor. A lot of these people who were involved as the active shooters within Columbine and Tabor posted blogs, okay? And the blogging was meant for a way to validate what their intentions were, okay? So if you wanna get a feel about where your child's at emotionally, look at their blogs. If you want a feel of who is adding to the blog, their friends, acquaintances, this is the place to kind of go to see how you're doing as a parent sometimes, right? How you're doing as a teacher, how you're doing as the the premier of Alberta. This is kind of where they go to see all these things. So that's kind of the blogging system. Again, the common sense things tell you that it's worldwide. Why? Because it's on the internet, right? No personal information. Most people don't post information. Personal information, it's like I said, it's more a rant or a complaint. No slandering or spreading gossip. Well, quite the opposite. Blogging is all about slandering and gossip. However, it's all about articulation, and how they do that is key. No venting about real people. Well, I have to disagree with that, because blogging is all about complaining about your parents, complaining about your teachers, complaining about rules and regulations, right? That's blogging, right? And it just tells you who you should not be blogging about, but in actuality, these are all the people that you blog about. So just be aware of that. Posting pictures. I've never seen so far in any police investigation where somebody's posted a picture. It's all about text. It's all about articulation through language with blogging. And so don't expect to see anything regarding pictures or avatars or pictures brought from the internet. Don't expect to see any of that. As a parent, checking the comments that your child posts. There again, if you want to get a flavor of your child's day or week or year, look at their blogging, and that'll kind of give you an indication whether they're happy or sad, or even if they have a mental health issue, you're going to be able to kind of get a basis from the blogging based on what they're saying. Be honest about your age. There again, those sorts of things with the blog, you don't need to post, period. 90% of my investigations done at a school level are based from a cell phone. And in that cell phone, again, I'll show you, a lot of the kids have this style BlackBerry. It's called the BlackBerry Curve. So this is able to, it has the communication versus data package. So it allows me to get emails, make telephone calls, text, do the BlackBerry Messenger, which is instant messaging. Allows me to do all those things. As well, it allows me to post pictures. So I can take a picture of this group right here and send it to all my friends, okay? Or send it as an email, right, with an attachment. 90% of all the police investigations at a school level are done over a cell phone, okay? That's with bullying. The big thing is sexting. Sexting is that guys and girls are taking provocative pictures of themselves and they're sending it to their girlfriend or their boyfriend. But it's becoming to the point where it's kind of getting out of control. And of course, as a parent, you think that cell phone is used only for communication. Well, you need to reconsider that. And like I said, when it came to the sign-in control, prior to giving your child a cell phone, you need to take proper measures with that phone, i.e., you need to have control over any security codes, any login codes, any passwords. You need to have all those. Well, you need to create them and then give that to your child without giving them the password, which means that your child, there's no sensitive material on there, so your child should have no cause to lock that phone down, right? So be concerned about that in the event that your child, you've given that phone without locking that phone down properly. A lot of the kids are in control of their passwords and their codes within that phone. And again, a couple investigations. One where a kid had posted a hit list. Okay, and on this hit list was done right over his cell phone, posted it to 5 or 6 of his best buddies. And his intentions for the hit list is that, of course, there was kind of mental health issues involved with this child. But kids on the hit list started from the point that he was in grade 5, okay, and went from grade 5 to grade 10, okay, and so he had about 15 kids on a hit list based on the memo portion of his cell phone, okay, and so how I gleaned that information is that when I did interview 4 of his best buddies, they said that he had sent this out, so which led me to believe that he had sent it out via his cell phone. Okay, so be aware that the new cell phones today are have the capability of a computer, okay, where they are an open line to the internet, where they can make telephone calls, and they can bring in and disseminate data. Okay, so be aware of that as a parent. And you'll find that a kid is no longer at home in front of the computer for 4 hours. He's actually on his cell phone. Okay, they're on their cell phones and they're texting back and forth. There again, my 18-year-old, when she was younger, 16, 17, they would text nonstop. Okay, and so to the point where you kind of have to monitor that. A lot of the kids bring their cell phones to bed. Okay, and they have their cell phones under their pillows. They have their cell phones on vibrate, and they are continuously taking in text messaging right through the night. Okay, so if you're wondering why your child's tired, that could be a primary reason. Okay, a lot of the criminal activity that is goes over a cell phone are, well, you could drug deal, you could be involved with bullying, the sexting. Sexting is, again, a spin-off of child pornography based on age. And so it's this type of activity that's happening on a cell phone. And there again, my high school, there's 1,009 students, and I venture a guess to say that 800 or 900 kids have a cell phone. Okay, to what capacity does the phone operate? For the most part, kids are texting back and forth, so that leads me to believe that there's some sort of data package involved with that phone. Okay, and part of that data package again is that they can take in and disseminate data, right? So that's a huge part of the population. Okay, and so how do you police that at a high school level? It's virtually impossible to police that, to ensure that kids are either A, keeping their cell phones at home or in their locker. Well, my PDA is small, fits in the inside of my suit pocket, and of course they make PDAs that are smaller, okay? And so they easily will be placed in pockets or back pockets or pencil crayon holders, right? And it makes it hard to police. iPods, multimedias. Okay, like I said about the iPod, you can turn that one version of that iPod into a phone, okay, through Skyping. Video games, Xbox. I'm a big Xbox player. I like to play Xbox. Of course, when you play online, there again, it's an open source to the internet. Okay, so you can post pictures on an Xbox system or a PS3 or a Wii. Okay, you can post videos. You can watch movies. You can do all these things on an Xbox. Okay, and those are the things that you need to be aware of. And these are the things that your child is very versed with. Okay, currently at my house, my Xbox is linked to my computer. Okay, so which allows me to transfer information back and forth. So if I want to watch a movie via my Xbox, it comes through my computer through into my Xbox, and then I can watch a movie. Okay, your Xbox. The only reason why I'm saying Xbox is because I have one and I'm very familiar with it. You can type messages through your Xbox. You can communicate back and forth through text or through voice. Right. My wife used to make fun of me because I'd have a headset and I'd be like, she'd say, so here's my order. I'd have a Big Mac and fries. It's virtually the same things where I have a headset and I'm talking to people right across the world who are playing the same game as I am. Okay, so you need to be cognizant of that. Okay, so it's not like the old Nintendo or the old Atari where it was just enough where it could play the game. It's now playing the game and doing way more than what you bargained for or what you bought the system for. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. These are just common sense things, right? That goes along with disseminating personal information, the do's and don'ts. Okay, so once it's sent, you can never get it back. I threw this in just to it's a kind of a wake-up call for parents and guardians and people who are, deal with kids. Is that I threw this in. This is just a kind of a brief, sheet on language and some of the language that is being used. A lot of it looks to me like hieroglyphics. However, it does make sense to a lot of the kids. And again, you can go and Google language, learn language, chat lingo, whatever, and it'll bring up all of this stuff with meaning. Okay? Good to have. It's kind of like having your own dictionary. Find out. These are things that a parent should do when searching your child's profile. Okay, and these are just common sense things for the most part. The cookie folder, for the most part, you don't need to get into that because you can find all the information just on like the internet browser history. So if your child goes on Google, if you look to the right of where you can enter in whatever you're searching, it'll give a history of all the entries made on that Google site. Okay, and so you can look to see what your kid is Googling and what your kid wants to find out. Sometimes, occasionally, your kids will post pictures or bring in pictures and save them to a file folder. So it's good to look in those file folders. So just again, this is just to kind of open up where you should look and the things that you should be doing. Here's what I believe, and I'm not so sure that a lot of people share my philosophy. But when my child was, 14, 15, 16, 17, I believed what she said to a point. Okay? So there was, 90% of the things I believed, but there was that 10% of things I did not believe. Okay? And for me, as a police officer, I'm trained in a lot of certain things. Interview and interrogation is something that I'm trained in. So it's how things are presented through language to me led me to believe that my daughter was being untruthful, and so which helped me through the police training. But there again, you know your child, and how you understand your child is understand what your child's base is. So the base is how they react normally, under normal conditions, okay? And then when your child is, say, trying to deceive you, that base is altered, okay? So now your child is acting beyond what the normal base is, okay, which is a flag to tell you that something is going wrong or something is wrong, okay? That helped me detect the things that my child was doing. So anyway, towards the end of this presentation, I have kind of a did you know? Okay, do you know about your child? Okay, do you and your teen personally know everyone on their I am buddy list? Okay, I am is the instant messaging. Okay, so and then it gives a checklist. That's a yes, that's a no, or what is the I am? Well, the I am is the instant messaging, which is the chat sites, the Facebook chatting, okay? These are just to kind of spur thought more than anything, or provoke thought. Does your teen participate in chat rooms? Okay, so that's a yes, no, or what's a chat room? Okay, so after today you kind of know what the chat rooms are. Do you check your teen's online web surfing history? Okay, so the web surfing is done through search engines, they're called. Google is the popular search engine. And so you can see on those search engines, on the right of where they can search material, you can see it's an arrow. Okay, and you can press that arrow and it'll give you all the history of all the things that your child is surfing. Okay. I know my teen email address and her IM name, so her instant messaging name and her email address. Okay, so what happens is that when you open up a Facebook profile, I'll use Facebook because it's for, like I said, the most known. You need an email address to log into that site. Okay, so it's a username. So the username could be Sweet Chrissy 16, and then underneath is the email address. Okay, and that's how you log into Facebook or Yahoo or MSN. Okay, so do you know that? Okay, for me, for the longest time, for my 18-year-old and for my 5-year-old, I will be setting her IM name as well as her email address. I will be setting that information. Okay, not her. Okay, so why? So I can police it. Okay, okay, with what we already discussed. If there's minimal activity on that site, I know that she's got another one. Okay? Besides at home, where does your teen access the internet? Okay, good question, right? School, library, internet cafe. The internet cafe is kind of a unique system, and that is that for I guess the mainstream adult, you go to a hotel. Hotel has internet and internet services where you pay, I don't know, $1 or $2 or $3, and it allows you to use the internet for an hour. Well, this internet cafe kind of does the same, but it's a little bit more quaint, where you can have your own cubicle, your own stall, and you could be doing your own little private chat in there. And so that's kind of a unique scenario. I wouldn't allow my teen daughter to go in there, period. Why? Because there again, there's no monitoring there. It's all about paying out money to use the system. Other family homes. For me personally, I have 4 sisters that live in the city here, and my daughter has used their computers before. However, she still has to log in using my password, using my email address, which allows me to go in and see what's happening, right? Regardless of whether she's at a family home or school or library. Friends' homes, cell phone, wireless devices, and of course, nowhere where you are aware, which means that 9 times out of 10 is a friend's home. The things that should be most concerned about is your child going to go to the library? Probably not. So it's going to be the school and the cell phone that you need to be most aware about. Most schools have a policing format within their network system, which means that you can't go on Facebook, you can't go on Nexopa on most school sites, right? Because they'll prevent you from doing that. So just something that you're aware of. Screen names can be deceiving. Which of the following names make you nervous? Well, I'm looking at all of them. All of them kind of give me an age, right? 13 on the top one, 14, 10. Then, you know, it kind of tells you where you think you're at emotionally here. Sexting, well, it tells me that she understands what sexting is, and she's 16 years old, right? It's kind of a hidden meaning. So you got to be aware of these sorts of things. There again, as a parent, to set what the username is something that you should engage in. Can your teens name 2 trusting adults that they can turn to besides you? Okay? So in difficult situations, sometimes things are embarrassing for your teens, or sometimes your teen has done things online that are embarrassing. Can your teen go to a family friend or a sibling and provide that information? Okay, that's another dynamic that I would have with my child. It's kind of like, again, with my 5-year-old, where you have the emergency code, and only me and my child have it. Well, it's kind of the same thing, right? Where your child online does things that are inappropriate, and they have a system where they can go and report that. Okay. Where are the computers located in the home? There again, if the computers are in the bedroom or in a secluded area within your home, that needs to be changed. You know, and some of the heads up are teens' bedrooms, family room or kitchen, home office. Home office is a big thing, right? A lot of the new homes are built with offices now where a kid can be secluded with the computer facing towards a certain wall or something. So it's something that you need to be aware of. A remote home or a laptop with Wi-Fi. So meaning the Wi-Fi means that they can take that laptop out of the home if they wanted to and stand on the street. And the Wi-Fi, what the Wi-Fi does is it searches for internet unsecured internet site. So your neighbor who has an unsecured site, it'll splash over onto the street, right? And so a Wi-Fi system will pick up their internet services, and then you can use their internet services. A little investigation that we did is through the ICE unit, we have these IP address detectors. Okay, and so what was happening is this very thing. Somebody was stealing this guy's internet services and posting child pornography on his IP address. Okay, and so with this little detector, I had to go drive through his community to see where it potentially could be coming from. Of course, it was virtually impossible because you go drive down the street of your house, of your community, and you'll see how many houses that have internet services. Well, pretty much everybody has one. And maybe 5 on the block secure their IP address. When I say securing, I say that it disables the splash out. Okay, so it contains it only to your home, right? So that disables somebody from using your internet address, your IP address. Okay? Now be aware that if somebody does use your address and they're displaying or posting images right across the world, the police could knock on your door and seize all your computers and CDs and any communicative device that will store data. They'll seize it all, okay? And then, of course, to determine later that somebody is stealing your services, okay? So if you don't have your site locked down, you need to lock your IP address down, okay? On your control portion within your computer, so if you go into your start box, into control, it'll walk you through how to lock your computer down. Okay, just so you know, I am not a computer, I'm not very computer oriented for the most part. However, through the course of different investigations, I've learned these things. Okay, so how that translates are that, you know, if you're a parent and you're going, I never use the computer, it's never too late to start to learn how to start controlling what goes on within your home or with your child. Does your teen have any social networking profile on MySpace, Friendsters, Xanga, Nexopia, Facebook? Okay, so you need to know where your child has a profile. Okay, and there again, if you set up the profile and there's little to no activity on that profile, you know that your child has another profile somewhere. Okay, and you need to research or find out where that is. Okay, and again, these are a simple yes or no. And what is the social networking? We went over that. Has your teen completed an online profile? Okay, so the online profile is, you know, your age, height, where you live, what you like, your hobbies, those sorts of things. And then, like on Facebook, where it has this little rating box, it could be posted in there, or it could be sent anywhere, right? You don't know where it's being sent. It's like you have somebody who is soliciting via your cell phone or your telephone, doing a consensus or something of that nature where they are taking in that information. And the last thing they ask you is do we have your permission to distribute this material? That's a yes or a no. Well, a lot of these online profiles don't ask you that. They just take the liberty. Okay. Up until recently, Facebook used to post that anything that you post on Facebook, whether it's a picture or a comment, they owned it. So the moment that you open up a profile, you post a picture, you no longer own those pictures. Or you send a picture, you don't own those pictures, they do. Okay, they've since changed that because they came under a lot of scrutiny, and so now that has changed, but be aware that a lot of these things are unpoliced. A lot of these things, they don't ask you. They just take the liberty, okay? I don't like to get too convoluted with a lot of common sense things, okay? Because in this instance, things are simple. When it comes to policing your child, hey, there's 90% of the things she's telling me that are accurate. There's 10% of things that she is not. Okay? And so how do I police the 10% of the things that aren't accurate? Okay? Well, I'm going to monitor her cell phone. I'm going to monitor her computer activity. I'm going to look at her chats. I'm going to see what she's Googling. I want to see her and the only reason why I use her is because I have a daughter, right? But her or he, I want to know who's on their friends list. There are instances where there's been kids that have run away, and the parent is standing there talking to the police, going, "I have no idea who their friends are." Whereas this will give you a starting point as to who to talk to about where your child could have gone to. The internet, through the internet, you can determine if your child is happy or sad. Of course, that will allow you to be a little bit more involved or a little bit more engaged in your child's life. But through all these things, you can figure out who your child is without them talking to you on a day-to-day basis. And of course, the moment my daughter turned 18 was the moment that she kind of left that innocence of the nest and is venturing out on her own. And so, but in that, I feel good to know that she's learned and retained a lot of the information that I provided to her. And of course, as a policeman, I've seen a lot of things in the city of Edmonton that have taken my innocence, which means that I've given my daughter what I believe as the real truth about how some people are and to trust and where not to trust. And so with that, I feel confident to say that she's going to be safe in the world. I have a little bit of a fear about my 5-year-old. Why? Because my 5-year-old is in a world where the internet is only getting bigger. Okay, search engines are getting smarter, where she could Google how to operate on her house pet, and it'll give you that information, right? So my fear is with her is that she's going to far surpass me in knowledge on the computer and on certain devices. And so as a parent, I'm trying to up my game to ensure that I stay par with my 5-year-old. And it's kind of ridiculous to say because I'm 42, right? But the kids today are way more advanced than I am, and even the difference between my 18-year-old and my 5-year-old are significant. My daughter, my 5-year-old, is learning everything via the computer, how to do math, how to do English, how to do social, whereas my 18-year-old still kind of did things kind of the old style. So just be aware of all these things. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to answer them. Just so you know, I do have a full-time job. So if I'm not, sending you back the information forthwith, realize I have a full-time job. I got to feed my family. So there it is. Thank you, and that's all. I'll await for, I guess, any of the questions that anybody has.
One question I had, Mike, is you talked about Facebook and locking down your daughter's profile. What does that really mean? Because I don't know Facebook.
Yeah, so in Facebook, they have a security, it's like a security button where you can go into that box, it'll open up, and it'll walk you through how to lock that profile down, which means that anybody who wants to be her friend has to ask for an invitation and cannot go directly into her site. Versus if it's not locked down, where I, in my course, thought, let's see if her site is locked down or not. It allowed me to go right into her site, see all her pictures that she posted, put comments, do all these things because her site wasn't locked down. Okay, so that's kind of how you lock down your Facebook profile. You're going through your computer to lock down your IP address. Locking down those systems are key to your personal safety because it allows you to protect your information. Go ahead.
So you talked briefly about cyberbullying. What are the chances of something like that escalating to actual physical?
Well, there again, here in this region, Tabor is the big school event where a child, 15 years old, was actively bullied, and that was directly or indirectly, which means that kids were coming up to him and saying things. They were going on his Facebook, saying things, and basically, back in the day when I went to school, bullying consisted of the school time, 8 to 3:30, and from 3:30 on, you had some sort of reprieve, right? Whereas now, with the cell phone and the Facebook and those things, bullying goes right through the course of the night, right? And like I said, kids put their cell phones under the pillow while they're being bullied 24/7, which in the Tabor incident, this led some sort of a mental health issue where the kid got depressed, didn't tell anybody, and it progressed. The depression progressed to the point where the kid shut down, was an A student, was no longer engaged in his classes, was failing. Parents didn't know what was wrong with him. That escalated to the point where on his profile, on his blogging, he started posting comments, and the comments were of a violent nature, and those were through articulation, basically saying that if these people continue doing what they're going to do, then I'm going to come to the school and I'm going to kill them. Okay? In 80% of this type of incident where a kid goes to the school with a gun with a directive, they post the information, right? They post some type of information. Why? Because they want to seek validation. Everybody was born to be good, right? Everybody has that sense of goodness within them when they're born. However, what happens is that when you formulate an opinion or the opinion to take somebody's life, okay, you have to talk yourself into that, okay? And so these Tabor, the Columbines, they posted blogs, they posted messages for validation reasons, okay? And that validation meant that if there were anybody out there that bought into what they were saying and what they were thinking by agreeing, that was their validation, okay? And that helped them carry out their task. Okay, so in the Tabor scenario, this is what happened. On his blog, he posted all these things about if the bullying continued, he was going to come with a gun and kill said targets. Of course, how you determine validity to these sorts of threats is that if he is or she is indicating a date and a time, okay, then you know that for the most part they're pretty serious about the threat along with their directive. And the directive is a hit list or a teacher list even of people who have bullied them, who have kept them down, who have relentlessly bothered them. The kid from my school he claims he was bullied since he was in grade 5. The investigation came out in grade 10. Of course, a mental health aspect was there, but he harbored that sort of animosity for 5 years. Same kids. Okay, of course, in communities, you can go to school with a kid from grade 1 right to grade 12, right? And so, primarily, a lot of these kids, grade 5, were in his grade 10 classes. Okay, and so we intervened because of the knowledge we have now, based on the Columbines and the Tabors and all those sorts of things. We were allowed to intervene and to see exactly what was happening. Not so fortunate with the Tabor. Tabor, he ends up going into the school and shooting 3 people. 1 was killed. A lot were fatally wounded. The Columbine was a little bit more, on the scale was larger in the respect that it was 2 boys, 15 and 17, and the bullying had persisted for years, okay? And the targets that they had designated were the kids who were bullying them for years. And so their scheme was a lot bigger. Now, in the United States, at one point, and especially when Columbine happened, to purchase a firearm was pretty easy, right? Here in Canada, our firearms laws are a little bit more stringent. But for them, they had an arsenal of weaponry. They Googled how to make a bomb. Okay, so these are the things that parents neglected to see and to monitor. So they were Googling how to make a bomb. They made bombs. They made pipe bombs. They made bombs made from propane canisters. They made all these sorts of things. They made they called them crickets, and the crickets are basically a little grenade, hand grenade, with nails packed in, and it was meant for damage, is what it was meant for. And so they had all these things, and of course, back in the day where Columbine happened, the police had a incident management task where They would arrive at the scene, they would set up containment, an inner perimeter, and wait for the negotiator to come in and try to establish some sort of communication. Meanwhile, these boys were running rampant, shooting, killing students within this school while they were trying to set up this perimeter. What's happened now is the police have learned that this is not a successful plan. So now the police have developed, it's called rapid deployment, where first responders will come in and automatically go in and seek out who's ever causing the damage. So the bullying is something that is now a 24/7 scenario, okay? Because for the most part, you can't get your kid to turn his cell phone off, okay? He won't turn off his phone to save his life, and sometimes that's what's needed to save his life. He'll keep that cell phone on. He'll keep that cell phone under his pillow, and he'll be taking in messages from people. And a lot of the times, bullies, it's relentless. It'll happen 24 hours a day, right in his sleep. They'll be sending him messages. And of course, if the phone is under his pillow, it's going to wake him up. He's going to look at it, and he's going to read something negative about who he is or what he's doing. Okay, so that's what's kind of happening with the bullying. The nice thing is, with this type of bullying, it allows me to see all of the communication that is sent out. Okay, so for an investigative purpose, I can go and do a search warrant on TELUS and get all that text messaging, text, and present it into court. Here's what I didn't tell you, and here's what I should have told you. As a parent, if that cell phone is in your name, you have access to all the text messaging that your son or daughter sends out. Okay, that's something that I neglected to tell you. Okay, that's only if that cell phone is in your name, right? So if the cell phone isn't in your name, under the FOIP, Freedom of Information Act, TELUS or Rogers will not give you that information. Okay, so that's a key thing as a parent to know. So that's the nice thing about the bullying indirectly through texting, is it allows me as a police officer to investigate that, and 9 times out of 10 have a positive conviction. Okay. So yeah. Anybody else? So what you're saying is my presentation was that good? There's no questions? Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Just to summarize, certainly, Mike, I think you gave us a lot of nuggets of information. But for myself personally, the 2 things that I'm drawing from it is, number one, it's really important that I have an engaged relationship with my children and the people that I love that could be, in fact, abused through these electronic systems. And the second thing is that I need to know a whole lot more about how they work and how they function in order to keep my child safe. And I think for the work that we do within FASD and the children living with FASD, this information is even more important. And so thank you very much for coming today and sharing that. So,
thank you very much.